Good evening. Welcome to tonight's online International Pulpwood Queen and Timber Guys Book Club. I'm Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm here with I think it's all authors tonight. Wow. So this is pretty exciting. Our authors are our biggest supporters, the ardent supporters, but tonight we're celebrating our author, Michelle Cox. Now, Michelle Cox has a whole series of books in the Henrietta and Inspector Howard series that's been winning all kinds of awards. In fact, before you even talk, I was rereading your book and I'd forgotten that this was in the beginning of your book. In the beginning of her book, it lists all of them and it lists all the awards. I don't know if you guys can see this. You can't. But there's I'm looking and you've got like 10 awards for each one of these books. So she's an award-winning author and she is climbing the charts, and we are thankful that we discovered you, Michelle, and we want you to tell us all about your series.
Awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks, Kathy, for having me. This is fun. Well, if you don't know about my series, it's the Henrietta and Inspector Howard series, as Kathy said. It's set in the 30s in Chicago. And, and it is it's kind of like a Downton Abbey meets Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries is kind of the little tagline I use. And it's a little bit different than your typical mystery series. It's not just the same characters solving a different crime each book. This is more, I would call it progressive type of series where the character arcs continue to develop within each book. So each book has a little mystery. Sometimes the mystery is more intense than others. The mystery wraps up in every book, but the character sort of dilemmas keep going. And I try to end each one on a little bit of a cliffhanger so that we know right where we're going for the next book. So that's it in a nutshell.
Great. Well, the book we're really discussing tonight is on our list this year. It's A Child Lost. And oh my goodness, this kind of, I know this sounds crazy, but you know, the Queen's Gambit, how it went into this home. Well, this is about a very interesting story about a place that you actually, based on a place that you actually worked in the 1990s. Is that correct? The Bohemian.
The Bohemian Home for the Aged and Orphans. So that is one of the institutions that I mention in the book. The other institution, which I did not go to, was Dunning Asylum. So that was a very terrible insane asylum that was on the northwest side of Chicago, which has since been leveled. But as I say in acknowledgements, they did find a mass grave of, I think, like 30,000 bodies in the back. So I think right now it's a fan actually went to the site after reading the book and took pictures. And part of it is just like an open field, but part of it, there's a TJ Maxx on it. So that's
you should share
history for you.
Blog this week.
I know, right?
I'll be fascinated with that.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, there's a TJ Maxx.
I wonder if it's haunted. So.
Yeah, well, that's 30 some thousand bodies found on the site.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So there were some pretty awful things that I think went on there. And that was kind of a challenge in writing the book, is that, you know, I could have went really quite dark. But because this is a Henrietta and Clive book, you know, I didn't really want to veer too far into that. But I didn't also want to make it, you know, too Scooby-Doo, where it's just, you know, I'm glossing over it. So it was kind of a challenge to kind of hit that middle ground. So,
well, yeah. One of the things that I find fascinating about you is your previous background of what you did, and how I used to go and read to the some of the, I guess, I don't know, residents of the assisted living, and I was reading to this one particular woman from our church, and her time was the 1940s, and she ended up having better stories than me. So I ended up going there just to listen to her story. But that's kind of how this all got started, right?
Yeah, it did. So I was the admissions director in at the Bohemian home, which at the time, of course, didn't have orphans anymore. But the orphanage was still there, but the staff, not me, but some of the staff lived in the old orphanage rooms. So the other part of the building was the elderly, and I was the admissions director. I've told this story before that I was horrible at it. And because I always wanted to be with the residents and not, answering the phones and, chasing ambulances. So eventually I got moved into social service, and was my true dream job, because then I could just sit with the residents. And what I was supposed to do is write a very small, literally like this big paragraph to put in their chart about their, like, how can I sum up their life in a paragraph? So because we didn't have a ton of oversight, I would just write pages and pages and pages. I would spend like a week or two with every resident, and I would write pages and stick them in the chart, and the staff loved it. And it was great for the resident because we really developed a relationship, so that there was a lot of trust there, and I became a person that they could go to, if they needed something. So anyway, I ended up part of the story that people don't know is that at the time, my husband and I were trying to adopt a baby, and they had told us, it'll be years before, your name comes up. But because of a weird fluke, the stars all aligned, and we got a call that, a baby was ready for us. And so I quit my job like instantly, because I wanted to be home with him. And, that it was sad, but they were all like super supportive. But anyway, I had this huge stack of stories that I had, accumulated. And so then years later, almost 20 years later, I decided to try to be a writer, and I took all of these stories and turned them into a blog. So that is how that all came about. And I used one of those stories to shape the character of Henrietta, who's one of the main characters of the series. So there you go.
Well, I absolutely love this because it kind of reminds me of, I'm an old movie buff like Robert and I are, and I used to watch the Thin Men series, and it kind of, the repartee between the characters and the little dog, and I used to love those as a kid, and I still every once in a while turn them on, and it reminded me of that. And then also I used to read the Maisie Dobbs books, and even though those were more Victorian, it still had the same kind of, I guess, historical period mystery to it.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
There's a lot of authors that out of Chicago that write historical fiction. Abbott Kohler, she did her last one. That was one of our picks. But this is really different, and they all are unique. You don't have to read them in order, do you? You don't, do you?
You don't have to. I put the books 4 and 5 on a lot of blog tours, and that was something I was a little concerned about, is people jumping in the middle. But no one really had an issue. That all reported they could read it as a standalone. But I highly recommend you start from the beginning, because like I said, it's kind of progressive in what happens with these characters, and they keep building on each other. So if you can read them in order, please do.
It's kind of like the Nancy Drew that I read as a kid. You don't have to really start with the first one, but it's helpful. So it sets up the characters. So good.
Correct.
And you've got, is this the 5th one?
It is the 5th one. Yes.
5th one. And what's wonderful about her book too is at the beginning of it, it has a little synopsis and all the awards that she's won for all of her books. But I read books cover to cover, and I loved your acknowledgement in the back. You go, and then you said, if anybody's reading this, I always read about the author, who they dedicated the book to. And I know a lot of people don't do that. How many of you can admit you read the whole thing? I do.
I do.
I think maybe that's authors.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so. But the average person, I read the back cover, the blurbs, And though I did order a book the other day by an Australian author who wrote a book set in India, and I got it, and I pulled the book out, and on the cover is a blurb from Pat Conroy. Oh my gosh. Scott, Grace, you don't know this, but Pat Conroy was a dear friend of mine, and his book saved me. I swear, between Lords of Discipline and The Great Santini, yes. I knew I'd found a home, but I couldn't believe it. Now, what would be the odds of him being on a book set in India? It's going to be on a reading list this year, so you'll be seeing it coming up. But
what's the title of it, Kathy?
It's an Indian title, and it's right here. I've got it sitting. Well, actually, it's up on my bookshelf with all my Indian books. It starts with an R, but it's real long. And what's really crazy about it is I was watching Oprah Winfrey. I watch YouTube. I watch TED Talks. I watch all these shows. Sure. And Oprah, I want to go to India. And Oprah went to India, and she goes, I'm now down in the slums in Delhi. And she goes, and now I have this author with me who's from Australia and who wrote this book set in India. I go, man, these connections, these weird connections. So, and I find that the more I know authors, then I find connections. They know this author, or that's a friend of mine. And we, oh, there's her one of her little poodles, Stephanie. Can you see?
Yes. Oh,
you'll see my cat running.
I saw it.
Yeah, and I got a tiger. But anyway, have you had any weird coincidences like that with your book on writing it? Besides that woman taking these pictures of the site of that place?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think. Not like that. That's a pretty strange
showed up from high school, an old flame at one of the book signings or anything like that?
Not really.
Well, it's always interesting to hear about the crazy stories that happen to authors when they're out at book signings. But this year, we haven't been able to go anywhere, have we?
I know.
Stuck at home doing this. And I thank you so much for sharing your lives with me, because I would go stark raving mad with, I've become the cat lady who just is at home writing, painting, and reading. So I think
those are not bad things.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
I've adopted 2 cats since COVID. I was brought a rescue cat, and then my daughter goes, Mom, can you keep my house cat while I'm searching for a new place to live? So I now have Luna, who is the Black Panther that's turned into the aggressive one of the bunch. But they're all here somewhere. They'll probably run off the couch. But do you have any pets? You do, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I have one golden doodle.
I knew that because one of the most popular posts that I've ever seen on the Breathless Bubbles and Books was Michelle Cox knows how to get everybody on board. But she said, which are you, a dog or cat person? And I have never seen so many posts in my, I think you went well over 100.
Yeah.
All because of, and that's why we had not too long ago, we had the author pet parade. So we had all the authors come with their pets, because what is it about writing and animals?
I don't know.
And, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so this series, how long do you think it's going to go?
Well, that's a good question. I said I wasn't going to write a book 6 right away, but I am writing it. So I'm about 40,000 words into it. And just because everybody here is a writer, I mean, the problem for me was that it wasn't the issue wasn't whether I wanted to continue the series or not. I would continue it forever. And I have ideas of like spin-offs for the series. But the problem is that I don't have a home for it. So I published the first 5 books with She Writes Press, which is a hybrid press, which is great. But I feel like I need to move on from there. And so a publishing house or an agent is not going to pick up the series, at the book 6 point. So that means that I am probably going to have to self-publish this book, which is fine, but that's another big learning curve. And I'm like,
Well, guess what? Mandy Haynes is going to be our next featured Writers Club workshop, and she's self-published through
okay.
Spark. She's going to walk everybody through to know how
Yes.
that process works. It'll be the second Saturday of May at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So
Okay, I'll write it down.
Write it down. So because everybody goes, I don't know what to do. You know, I've thought about self-publishing. But the fact of the matter is, publishing houses right now are not picking up very many unknown authors. They want surefire wins. And the other thing that I found out is that they are no longer giving advances. You have to hire your own editors. You have to do your own marketing and publicity.
Yes.
So why not? So I talked to Mandy just today, and I said, Mandy, you have to show how this is done, because she had over 300 pre-sales for her last book, and she's going to show us how to do it. And she is sharper than a tack, y'all. So and it's just an option, but we want everybody to know how it works. And I think it'll be a popular, even if you don't want to self-publish, you should learn how it works, because it's pretty amazing to me. We will make sure that number 6 gets as much attention as number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks.
Terrific to
That's
us.
awesome.
You're very popular with the Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys readership. And I know that whatever you write is going to be, you know what I love about your writing is it's so authentic. It takes you right to the place. There's great character building. The setting is marvelous because,
Thanks.
you know, I'm a big Downton Abbey fan myself.
Yeah.
I'm excited. They've got another movie coming out. You know, I've been to England once. I want to go back. So, you know, maybe something that you can do, and this is, you know, me thinking with a creative artistic mode, is that maybe in the future you could do a Inspector Howard and Henrietta tour of Chicago.
Well, yeah, you know, other people have suggested that. And actually, I was approached by Barbara Bear. She runs Bear Books in Florida, I think. And she approached me. This was during COVID. And she said, obviously, we can't do it now. But she's a travel agent and she's a huge, you know, reader. And her thought was to start offering literary tours. So she asked me if I would be interested, in doing like a Henrietta and Clive Chicago tour. So hopefully that's sometime in the future.
Well, one of our authors, East, she set her book at the Biltmore in North Carolina,
which I'm heading to in a week.
Oh my God, it is fabulous. Oh gosh, I got to show you this then. This is our reading list too. Coming up. Oh, where'd it go? I had it right in front of me. This is on our reading list. You're going to just freak out. Denise Kiernan, who's one of our authors, has written a book called The Last Castle.
Wow.
And it's an epic story of love, loss, and the American royalty in the nation's largest home. I've been to the Biltmore twice. The first time was with Deanne. She had a literary weekend where the Pulpwood Queens, we went to her weekend. We dressed in the time period.
Oh, I would love it.
Every one of the docents at the museum read the book. And so we went from basement to the gargoyles on top and showed us every aspect of where the scenes were set in the book. It was the most awesome experience I've ever had in my life. And it was incredible. And so then I had to take my daughter back there after I'd driven out to California. I came back and we went through the Biltmore again. I would go there. I want to live there.
Don't we all?
Bedroom. It's all flocked with satin and velvet. Oh my God. This is the most, and there's so many other things there like Tiffany. They've got so many Tiffany pieces and the art. Well, I'm going to stop there. But I love Chicago, and I've been there many a times for Book Expo. But I think a literary tour of what you're doing with that series would be kind of like John Berendt did with Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. It quadrupled. Actually, I think I think their tourism went up like 4 times what it normally was
Wow.
when that book came out. People were going to do the, John Barrett tour. So
I think it still does.
yes,
Wow.
and that's one of the things I've been to Savannah, but I didn't have time to do last time I was there. But yeah, I think literary tours is the way to go. And Stephanie Chance over here runs the Decorate Ornate tours to Europe. And we've gone
Wow.
many times, the Pulpwood Queens, and she takes us to all the, literary spots. And it's just, in fact, as soon as this opens up, I want to plan a Pulpwood Queen tour back to Europe. And Stephanie's going to put it all together. And I'm telling you, you get so spoiled going with Stephanie. So we'll have you talk about it a little bit at the end. But I think that's a great idea. So
Yeah.
have you got any ideas of what your next book would be about? Would it be another historical novel, or would it be contemporary, or?
You mean book 6 of the series?
No, after you finish the book.
Well, I've already written 2 other standalones, and which I'm trying to get an agent for. So I'm like trying to do like all this weird stuff.
Incredible.
Yeah. And they are both historical, like women's.
You've
What?
got a lot done during COVID. So they're historical too.
Yeah, they're more historical women's fiction, so they're not really mystery, but they're also based on people that I met in the nursing home. So I took a little strand of their life and then, created this whole novel out of them. So yeah, I'm trying to get an agent and a traditional publisher for these. I'm going to do self-publishing for the series. I, have 5 books of the hybrid, so I'm kind of all over the map.
Well, I think that speaks to about everybody I'm talking to these days. So
yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you have to. We have got to adapt to change, because that's what COVID has made us. Never in a million years did I think I'd learn the technology of Zoom meetings. We just had our first Zoom-a-thon conference in January, and I was on the internet every night learning how to do it. And we did it, and it was amazing. In fact, I don't know how we did it. Claire was there, Stephanie was there, Robert was there, Michelle was there. But this year we're doing again virtual and online because the convention centers aren't open, and it's going to be a week long, you guys. A week.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you going to do a week online, Kathy? You're going to be dead at the end.
We're going to have big breaks in between, because I didn't get any breaks last year. And on Saturday, I was on Zoom for 16 hours straight.
That's insane. Crazy.
It was insane. And I go, I can't do that. I didn't realize that I need to leave some space in between. I've learned a lot from Jonathan Hote at the Pat Conroy Center. He goes, you need to leave a space so people can stretch their legs, be with family, grab something to eat. And personally, so I can download the video and get it up on the YouTube channel, because I had to do it all at the end. And it took me a week to get all the videos up from last year. And so this year I'm going to do it as I go. So, and Mandy will be on. Mandy's router went out, so she was off looking for a new router tonight. So she couldn't be here. She's our executive director, and she's from Fernandina Beach, Florida. So the Pulpwood Queens are nationwide. We have over 800 chapters, and now we're in 20 foreign countries.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's incredible. But we've always been an international book club. We've always picked diverse and global books from all genres, both men and women and everything in between. But this year we put international in our title. And I don't know what happened, but when we put the international in front of what we're doing, it has just exploded. And when we went virtual, we picked up authors from Paris, France, from Spain, from Malta, Canada. People were coming on board that couldn't normally come. So we'll always do a virtual along with an in-person when we can get back to meeting together. But that next year, it's all virtual and online. And you guys, if you're author members and you subscribe to my YouTube channel, email me, because you can get the full package to Girlfriend Weekend to watch everything for $99. books. And
I already did. I'm so excited.
well,
I did too.
It
Yeah.
is the end of April. It's up to, then it'll go back to, it's on $2.99 on the website, and everybody pays to come because you want to go to everything because it's such a wonderful way to network. Claire wrote a wonderful story. She's at the bottom about her first time coming to Girlfriend Weekend, which actually put us into the mode of writing our book, The Pulpwood Queens Celebrates 20 Years, because this is our 21st year reading. And of your books, how many of them have we picked, Michelle? Have we picked?
You've picked 3.
3, because we didn't get there right at the beginning, but
No.
we were on board as soon as I learned about it. But we really try to help first-time first book authors, or authors that may be famous in one part of the country, but maybe not in another. So, and I have a lot of bloggers, a lot of podcasters. I have the Pat Conroy Center. I have the Dolly Parton Imagination Library coming. We've got everybody coming this next year. So hang on for the wild ride. What is the most fun part of writing these books for you?
I think just being transported back into the 30s. I mean, I think I'm a very old soul, and I think that there's a part of my brain that kind of always lives in the past. So when I write the books, it's a way for me to get back there. So I love the creative process.
That's one of my favorite time periods because I love the movies of that era.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
clothes and all those things.
And the music. Yeah.
Music, everything. We just watched The Women on our book and film club, which was done in 1939. And if you have not seen The Women, where did we watch it on? What was it on? Amazon or but it had all the greats from that era. It had Rosalind Russell, who else? Norma Shear,
Joan Crawford.
And it's Joan Crawford before she got real eyebrowed, you know. That's the only way I can describe it. But she played that same kind of character. But I love that era. That was my grandmother's time. And I just loved, you know, they went from the flappers to the bobs and the clothes. And they were very take charge women in the 30s.
They were. I think that they had to be because of the Depression. I mean, it was kind of a no nonsense sort of approach to everything because they had to be a little bit tough.
Yeah. My grandmother was a real entrepreneur. She had a lot of different things going, but yet my mother was typical of the 50s. You know, she was a homemaker. She wore the dresses with the pumps and pearls, you know.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm serious, but and then I grew up in the 70s, so good God, you know, I'm caught between the past and the future. So we're kind of in a weird transitional place, but you guys are all so much younger than me. But anyway.
I don't think so.
I'm getting up there, y'all. I mean, I'll be 65 this August. Can you believe that?
67.
Whoa!
Wow.
Hey. Well, you don't look it. You know, have you guys ever looked at your grandfathers or your grandmothers when they were like 40? They looked 80.
I know. It's true.
Little pin curled hairdo with those cat eye glasses and you know, wore the cinched matching belt dresses and the pocket purse, and she was an Avon lady too. That was one of the many things that she did. And
so was my grandma.
She was. Well, they were really independent, and she always told me, she called me cat soup, was because I couldn't pronounce ketchup when I was a kid. And my name is Kathy. So they called me cat soup, and she goes, you know, cat soup, you never go to town without your lipstick, right, Stephanie? We never go to town without our lipstick. So does any of your parents' influences have any influence on your writing at all? Do you think anything about them brought into your, you know, love of writing?
Well, the love of writing, probably not. I mean, my I think my mom was maybe creative in a certain way, but she didn't have any opportunity to express that. So they were just, small town farmers. My dad worked at John Deere. My mom was a, homemaker. So yeah, I mean, I think I was the first one of the whole family to ever go away to college. And it was like a big deal. Like, wow, you made it to college. So yeah, I mean, they were always very encouraging.
I'm the only one that graduated from college. Now, my parents both went and my sisters went. I have two sisters and I graduated, but I graduated 43 years after I graduated from high school. I went back to college at 59.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I attended 7 universities and I finally got my art degree. So I'm also an artist and you can check that out on my Kathy L. Murphy artist page. But
I have one of your pieces.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you bought one.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's trees, which is my
Yeah.
favorite thing.
Yeah, I love it. I have it right by my computer to inspire me.
Oh, that's so sweet. I did not know that. Stephanie has a store in Gladewater, Texas of European finds that she from her trips. And when I say finds, it's like museum doors.
Wow.
But anyway, she has a separate building next to her store that's filled with all the doors and balconies from all these places in Europe. And my art is in the gallery. So I'm pretty pleased about that. And that she gave me that space and I couldn't. You're a dear friend, Stephanie. I'm telling you, she has been wonderful to me. But I wonder, I always ask authors, where do you think you got that drive to write a story down?
I don't know. I think I'm sorry, it's like spilled water all over my desk, so I'm secretly trying to wipe it up while we're talking. Did you notice?
Coffee, okay. Coffee's from the Biltmore, y'all, my coffee mug.
Ooh, there we go. Another connection. Mm-hmm. I'm using my eyeglass cloth.
Oh my gosh. I feel like throwing you some paper towels. Okay.
Right. Okay. No, so I've always been very creative. I think it was always trying to come out in certain ways. So what I used to do is one of my best gifts ever was a set of Louisa May Alcott books. And I used to try to write little sort of fan fiction before I knew what fan fiction was. So I would try to pretend that I would always write these stories where this girl got transported, through time.
I love those kind of
yes, right. Okay. And it always, Joe March was my best friend and all that. So anyway, that didn't go anywhere. So then I started illustrating them. And then I would create all of these stories with the illustrations. So there was kind of always that. I always wanted to kind of be a writer in high school. I thought, but I was so afraid of being a writer. I was just so scared to put myself out there in that way. And I definitely did not have a thick skin back then. So I'm thankful I actually didn't start writing back then because I think it would have been a disaster. I don't think I think I had to mature and just get some life experience before I started writing. But, I was always creating these, trying to create this sort of color palette with gardens or decorate the house or do these elaborate birthday parties or, hand do all of these like birthday invitations for the kids. So, I was always looking for some vehicle for this. It was just always trying to come out. And so when I decided to try writing, that it was like the perfect marriage. Like, okay, you finally found the vehicle. So, yeah.
So great because nobody in my family is really much of a reader or a writer or, they go, oh gosh, and that's just painful to, I'm always pushing writing on everybody in my family and reading. And I'm working on my cousin right now, trying to get him to write his story because he's got an amazing story. But it's always, everybody always says the same thing that you just said. They were scared about, they weren't smart enough, or they weren't, I thought all writers came from New York City until Laura Ingalls Wilder books. When I was a little kid, our teacher started reading those. I go, hey, wait a minute. These are set, part of them are set in Kansas, where I'm from. And I thought, so I had a little stint where I thought I was trying to, write stories, like that. And of course, they were disasters. And I also tried to copy Nancy Drew. And I'm terrible at mystery writing, and I'm not that fiercely independent. But I did want her dad. I was just so jealous of her dad in that car. But anyway, it's interesting how you get into it. And how about your family support? Does your family support you? Do they read your work?
Well, my husband reads all of the early drafts. I have a very close circle that reads the first sort of draft, and he's very supportive because, here's the thing about writing that you don't think about. If you're trying to do this as a career, you don't realize it's a career. Starting out, you don't realize that this is a business. So it's kind of like I started a small business and didn't realize it until you're so far deep into it. And then you suddenly one day wake up and realize, you bought a flower shop and didn't realize it. So that is hard because I didn't, like, if I were going to go back to work, let's say, we would have had a conversation, my husband and I, like, okay, I'm going back to work. So that means that, we're going to have to divide things up and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That never happened because I didn't realize that that was what I was doing. So it took a little bit of time to sort of backtrack and say, okay, what is it that you are doing? And he was very supportive. I mean, the first couple of years I traveled a lot. And, he held the fort down here, and it was good. It's good for him to, learn how to run the washing machine.
Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's always interesting to me. I find that the most successful authors usually have support from their families,
Right.
which is really, I think that's important to know, but it's true. I mean, I planned on writing a novel for my first book, and I'm still working on it. But the book, I got called by a publisher saying, we want to publish a book and you're going to write it. And I go, who does that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was a small publisher in the South. And so I said, what do you want me to write? And they go, we want you to write the first story of your first year of opening the hair salon bookstore. I mean, how you got on Good Morning America and Oprah Winfrey and everything within just months from opening, and Los Angeles Times features, and Newsweek Time, Wall Street Journal. And I go, I don't know how it happened. It was just, it wasn't any, superior marketing plan. I was in pure survival mode. I was a book publisher's rep, and I got downsized. And so I all of a sudden had to have a job. So I put myself through college doing hair, and I've always loved books. So it was my sister Karen that said, we'll open up a hair salon bookstore. And I go, well,
that's so perfect.
What do you guys do when you go to the barber or you go to the hairdresser while you wait? You're reading. So I did that. And then little did I know, it would grow to be the largest meeting and discussing book club in the world. Now, Oprah has the biggest book club, but they don't really meet. They watch her talk about a book with the author. We actually meet and we have interaction with Michelle. And like this week, anybody can jump on there and ask her questions. How many book clubs in the world have this kind of access to? And, most of our authors are first book, but, we've had John Barrett and Fannie Flagg and Pat Conroy and Alice Hoffman. I mean, we have amazing authors come to our weekend. We try to get a few bigger names, Adriana Trigiani, Carolyn Leavitt, Jenna Blum. We try to get those kind of authors, but our majority of our push is towards helping the undiscovered author. And so, a lot of people, I don't want anybody to take offense to that, but quite frankly, people still don't even know who the Pulpwood Queens are. And I've been, I remember the first lady of Texas asked me at a garden party thing in Jefferson, she said, have you ever been to the Texas Book Festival? And she was in charge, she's on that board. And I said, well, I've been featured twice, and she didn't even know it.
Wow.
So, there's so much information going out there super fast, in so many venues, you can get so lost. And my job and my purpose is to bring everybody together so we can help all the authors who aren't getting the big publisher push. And people, when we make, I think probably about half of my book club selections, book of the month, get movie optioned. And so many of them have become movies. Like, I mean, even before they were famous, we had The Help by Catherine Stockett, Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Let's see, Same Kind of Different as Me by Ron Hall and Denver Moore. I mean, so many of Jamie Ford, Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet.
Mhm.
We just, we hopefully give that little push, to put them in the spotlight. I'm not going to take credit for their rising. Your own talent gets you there. But if we can kind of give you a little boost up, we're going to do that. So what is the one thing that you would want people to know about you, Michelle Cox, and I had somebody interview one time tell me, when you die, what do you want people to remember about you? And
Oh my God.
started crying. I thought, oh my God, that's so sad. My response was, you're not gonna believe this, but I said, the only thing I want remembered about me is that I was a good mother.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
And that just came out, and it's still true. I mean, what I'm doing to promote literacy is just something that I feel like a vehicle for it. I don't have any say in it. I'm just doing it, But the one thing I was intentional with was being a good mother. So what is the one thing that you would want to be remembered by you?
wow. That's a big question.
Yes. It makes you really think, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. I mean, being remembered as a good mother, that's a good one. But I can't steal yours. So I guess I would have to say, I hope I'm remembered for my compassion.
Yeah, I think authors are very giving. And every author I've literally interviewed hundreds, and I've worked with authors for years, because before I was a book publisher's rep, I was a buyer for an independent bookstore, and a bookstore manager, and I've worked on every side of the table. The only thing I haven't been is an agent, but I've been an unpaid one, because I helped get Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood published. So I kind of work behind the scenes on some of those things, but I don't want credit for any of those things, because that's things that I think, God is working through me to do. What I want people to remember is, that you're kind and compassionate and a good mother. Now, you adopted one child?
Yeah. And two biologicals.
Oh my. And so how old are they now?
24, 18, and 15.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. And are they nearby you? Are they close?
The 18-year-old is here. I think he would have left the nest, but COVID has sort of blocked that. The 24-year-old is in the same town, so that's good, but he's also been camped out at our house for most of COVID. And of course, Ellie, just ended her 8th grade year with COVID and started her freshman year of high school. So it's been a strange time.
I'm looking forward to reading what these kids write someday about COVID, because this is unprecedented.
Yeah.
When I was in junior high, we had this Asian flu hit where school was dismissed for a week because everybody was just sick. But this is
not a year.
going on, well over a year, and it's been kind of, I've never got more work done in my life. How about you?
I got a lot of written, but it was a little bit more difficult to do all of the marketing because, I did have constant interruptions. Even though they're not little kids, it just seems like, and my husband has been working at home for a year. So at one point there were 5 of us Zooming at the same time, multiple days a week. So it's been a little bit hard to focus. Like right now I have various signs that I tape to the door. Like I'm on a Zoom, don't come in, or whatever it is. So I've tried to deal with it. So I'm looking forward to everybody sort of leave the house. It's weird, right? Because COVID, it's like either one extreme or the other. It's like some people have been isolated in their house and, are desperate to get out and to be with people. And on the other hand, I'm here and I'm like, okay, you guys can go now. Leave me alone.
We should talk to Marilyn Rothstein, who's one of our authors, that they all escaped to their second home in Connecticut, and she had her whole family with her.
Oh no.
All the meals. She goes, they finally just switched to paper plates because it just all they were doing was dishes. And I think, all the books that are going to come out about this time period,
right,
will be very, very interesting. So
for sure.
I want to open it up now for conversation for any of you all that are here tonight that want to ask any questions or anything about the writing process. Now's the time to jump in and ask Michelle.
I have a question.
Sure.
Great.
Go, Claire.
I'm so glad to see you, Michelle. I
Thanks.
literally centered my day when I figured out you were going to be here. I just said, I'm crazy about you. I want to know why you're going to the Biltmore next week.
Yes.
I
wanna
am
hear about that.
Okay, so there's a short answer and a long. I'll try to do medium.
Okay.
So it's my 20th wedding anniversary.
Oh.
And so my first husband, Ben, we adopted Nathaniel. And then when Nathaniel was 2, Ben died tragically of a heart attack. So then I remarried eventually, and I had 2 children with Phil. But because and he's from Liverpool. So when we got married, I had a 4-year-old. We were getting married, and a lot of his relatives were coming in for the wedding. So it just seemed weird that we would just leave and go off on a honeymoon when all these people from England were here.
Right.
And I was kind of hesitant to leave Nathaniel. He had been through a lot. And I'm like, you know what? We'll just go on a honeymoon some other day. And here it is. 20 years later, we are finally going on our honeymoon. So
are you staying at the Biltmore Hotel there, or are you staying around?
We're staying at the Omni Resort. So that seems.
Last time I went there, I stayed in a steampunk Airbnb.
Woo!
It was so wild. It was metal buildings and it had a pool. It was, I can't even describe it. I took 1,000 pictures and shared them, but it was the most unusual place I've ever, and we never saw the owner. We were just given a place to go to get the key, and it had an open kind of weird high-tech kitchen with gears. And I mean, it was the most amazing thing. And it was very inexpensive, but it was way up on the top of it's very, not mountainous, but it's pretty high up. We were on the top of this thing, and it wasn't very far from the Biltmore, but it's a beautiful, I hope you're staying longer than just a weekend.
We're staying 6 days. So
yeah, because you want to go downtown, you want to see everything. And the Biltmore is phenomenal. And the food.
Well, we actually went several years ago, let's say, I don't know, 7 years ago, but we had all the 3 little kids and my husband's mom.
Yeah.
And, you know, I spent most of the time outside of the Biltmore, like looking for the potty or getting an ice cream cone or dealing with a tantrum. So we're hoping to just totally immerse ourselves this time. So.
It's just fabulous in that they have a great winery. It's the biggest winery for shipping of anyone in the country.
Really? I'm surprised by that.
Well, they have those beautiful bottles, you know, they're just beautiful. So they're all etched, you know, with the Biltmore on them and stuff. They're beautiful as a keepsake. So I remember we walked out and we each were carrying 2 cases, my daughter and I, because I was giving them out as gifts, you know, and so we
As
were
you do.
big winos. But anyway, you're going to have a really good time.
Thanks.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's easy to social distance. It's pretty spread out, you know, there. So I'm sure they have the tours where, you know.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I am excited. We want pictures.
I will.
Pictures and
yes.
share them. Yeah. And it will be really great when we get to Denise's book, which is just fabulous. She wrote Girls of the Atomic City.
Oh, yeah.
Our 50s theme book. Oh, just a second. I've got to hit. I don't want that call to come through. So anyway, any other questions for Michelle about her books? Yes, Grace.
I do. Hi. First of all, Kathy, thanks for being so inclusive and for welcoming me to this group. And Michelle, I see you out there on social media, so this is a super treat. And Stephanie, you and I just met 2 seconds ago, so thank you. So I'm just happy to be here. But I'm always fascinated by authors that pick a specific niche of years. I know that you are an old soul. I know that you resonate with that. But how is it that you picked that specific period? Because it's also much more demanding, I think, of an author to get the clothes right or the light right or the cars that go by. So tell me a little bit more about how you picked that, because I do think historical fiction is differently and perhaps more demanding.
That's a good question. You know, the real reason I picked the 30s is because the woman that I based the story on worked at the World's Fair in Chicago in 1933. And I loved that detail so much that I wanted to put the book in it, because really my affinity is more for the 40s. But I thought, well, I can write one book about the 30s. And I'm not realizing that it was going to be a series. So if I had known that going in, I might not have set it in the 30s. However, I'm glad that I did, because I feel like it's kind of a forgotten era, that there's not quite as much out there, you know, of that time between the wars. So, and also just sort of, you know, with that Depression background, and a lot of, you know, the book is about, you know, the rich versus the poor. So that kind of fits in nicely as well. But I understand what you're saying, that it does take a lot of research. I think I'm the type of person that just sort of collects those details. So a lot of what I use is, you know, something I've, you know, seen in a period drama or read in a Victorian novel, or just even from my own life. And things that I have the hardest time describing are the clothes. So I have huge books of fashion from the 30s, which I, you know, use those regularly, and, you know, Google the rest, like the cars and that kind of stuff. I try really hard not to research a ton ahead of time, because to me the story is more important. So I get the story down, and then I go back and fill in the details after I've had some time to look them up, because I feel like if I do it ahead of time, it's just going to become an info dump. So well, that's how I do it.
You've got to watch the movie The Women, because they have a fashion show of 30s.
Oh God,
it's fabulous. But I got to show you this. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a bookmark that was purchased at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893.
Wow.
That was given to me by one of my clients who got cancer, and she gave it to me before she died. And she
Wow.
had it framed for me because she knew I loved vintage things. But isn't it beautiful? It's like, it's just gorgeous.
That's gorgeous. Is it made out of copper?
No, it's made out of like satin, and then it's embroidered.
Wow.
And it's really beautiful. And then on the back, it's got, if you look really close, it says Chicago's World Fair, 1893.
That is so neat.
Isn't that fun?
Wow.
So it reminds me of her every day. She was one of my favorite people in the world. But all these connections are made. And one thing for you newbies that don't know is the Pulpwood Queens don't take themselves very seriously. We do a zaniness at our book club convention. We have a lot of costumes. I have a lot of costume changes, a lot of tiara changes, because I enjoy that expression of art by doing the hair and the styles. And that's why I love historical fiction, because then I can dig in my closet and dig things out. But if you come to our live event, we have a grand finale called the Great Big Ball of Hair Ball. It usually has a theme, and it's been everything from the Gilded Age to the Greatest Show on Earth, circus. What are some of the ones you guys have come to? Can you think of the themes? Oh,
How the West Was Won.
Yeah.
Was really fun. We had our cowboys and we had our Indians. It was pretty zany.
The lumberjack theme.
Yeah, we all came. Well, we always have the authors wait the tables at the author dinner, and I make them dress up. One year, I think I had them dress all as Charlie Chaplins. You remember that when we did the silent movie era? And then one year they all came as circus characters. But the year we did, what was the theme that we did that we had all the authors dress as lumberjacks? Well, we always pick one year I had them come all as fairies, and then some of the guys put their foot down and said no. And I said, well, you can be a woodland creature, okay? A woodland creature. And I went as a deer. Do you remember that? Oh, you guys may have not been at that. Stephanie probably. But we wear crazy costumes, and we're going to incorporate some of that into our Zoom meeting this year. Last year we had a slumber party, so the entire weekend we did it all in our pajamas. So everybody had a lot of fun looking for fun pajamas. But any other questions for Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle.
Yes.
Hey, Scott.
So-
Scott and his partner Larry interviewed me for Austin Lydian Limits.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a web series where we interview authors. So why are you going self-publishing with book 6?
Because because basically it's too expensive. I mean, that's the honest truth, to keep going with a hybrid. I mean, you get a wonderful package and you get traditional distribution, which is huge, but my books are getting longer and longer and longer, and it's harder and their prices are going up. The She Writes Press, I mean, I think they're up to almost $8,000 a package, and then you have to hire a PR company on top of that, and usually some editorial work. So I figure, I have a following, and I feel like I already do so much marketing on my own that I feel like I can make a go of it.
You're a marketing genius. I'm telling you, your photographs and your graphics with your posts people love them. The one today with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn was just fantastic. But you're a genius at that. But Ingram Spark, you can publish a book and an ebook for $49.
Right.
And you get distribution. They put you on Amazon. You're everywhere, and you get to keep all the profits. So that's pretty cool. So you guys have actually met. That is so cool. I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah. They have a great interview series It's
I
awesome.
hook the Pulpwood Queens up to that because we have fabulous authors, and we're always looking for new venues to. I know just about all the major bloggers everywhere, so I never knew Austin City Limits did that, and I have so many Austin friends. In fact, my second biggest book signing when my book came out was at Book People.
Well, nice.
Yeah.
Actually, our show is called Austin Liddy Limits with an L. So it's a play on Austin City Limits.
Litty Limits.
Liddy Limits. Right?
Oh,
I love
And
it.
we interview all types of authors, up and comers, bestsellers. Joe Lansdale was a recent
yeah,
interview.
just down the road from me.
Jeanette Brown, Johnny
was-
Bernhardt was one who's one of your
my
featured
authors. Yay! What
Um,
about Matthew McConaughey? Have you got him for Green Lights yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Well, good
We
luck.
actually have an interview with Jody Thomas, if you know who Jody Thomas
Yes,
is.
I've had Jody Thomas at Girlfriend Weekend.
She's been on our show.
Yep.
So we have a pretty broad variety of guests.
Well, I know a lot of the Austin authors, Stephen Harrigan, Elizabeth Crooks. There's just so many down there. But anyway, that's great to know. Good to know. And we look forward to reading, I'm going to have your book on my reading list this year. So for
Excellent.
Hey.
Mandy was the one that started first. She goes, you got to read this guy's book. I go, well, I got it here. And the cover really intrigued me, prairie dog. So anyway,
What's the name of the book, Kathy?
it's right. I just had it out. Oh, goodness.
It's called To Squeeze a Prairie Dog, like To Kill a Mockingbird. So
Oh, yeah.
To Squeeze a Prairie Dog.
I see the
And,
Benjamin Franklin
Yes.
emblem on it.
yeah, it won the gold medal for humor, the Benjamin Franklin Award.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's
I
a
was
big
also
one.
selected as the Indie Author of the Year in
Okay.
Texas
Yeah,
for this book, and then it won a silver medal with the reader's favorite book
And now
award.
it's going to
that's not lightweight. Good for you.
It's going to have the International Pulpwood Queen
That
stamp.
would be great.
Right.
We have a stamp too that people put on their book. So I'm excited about this, and I'm so glad you're here. We do this every Tuesday night. All you have to do is email me if you want the Zoom link. I'm trying to get this set up so it's the same. There's a way, Sherry Staunch was telling me at Main Street Reads, that I can set it up. It's the same every time.
Yes.
And they'll send you, I've just got to learn the technology, you guys. And I'm just so busy because we've got a new magazine out that is so awesome. It's up on our website. It's called the International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Reading Nation magazine, and it's featuring every one of you. So we're really excited about it. We've been trying to think of more ways that we can get more exposure to our authors in this time of social distancing. And wait till you see what we have coming this fall. It's going to be really big. So
Can you give us a hint?
Robert Gwaltney is going to be involved with this too, right? Are we gonna do this, Robert?
Absolutely.
Okay, we are. Oh, cat fight. Kidding me? We are going to be launching. Years ago, I did an online talk show, book club talk show called Beauty in the Book with Random House. And I did 13 episodes, and I was sponsored by them. And in my salon, I would have the authors come in, I'd give them makeovers, I'd have them do crazy zany things like fire baton twirl and do crazy things. But they were going to try to sell, this was before Netflix and Amazon Prime and Apple TV. They were trying to sell it to television. And then they said, well, we're not getting anything there, so we're going to go to cable. So then I thought, well, maybe the Women's Channel or something. They couldn't get it to fly there. So they said, well, we're just going to do it online. So we did it online. They're all up on YouTube. It's called Beauty in the Book Show, and it's 13 episodes featuring authors like Yann Martel and Anna Quinlan, Deborah Rodriguez, Helen Simonson, Fannie Flagg, Pat Conroy. I mean, amazing authors. And I had a blast. And they flew me out to Beverly Hills twice to do some shows with Jeanette Brown out there, and also with Lisa C. and who else? I did another author out there. But anyway, it was really fun while it lasted. But then they said there's just not enough interest on, we were ahead of ourselves. So I got thinking about it and I thought, well, I bet if we did it now, people actually would tune in. So we're starting the Kathy L. Murphy Show, and Robert Gwaltney's going to be my Ed McMahon. I'm going to be Johnny Carson. He's going to be my Ed McMahon. We're going to have a show where we're going to feature our authors, and we're going to do all kinds of fun things. You know, it's not just going to be a book club talk show. It's going to be something where we find out hidden talents and inside stories. It's going to be stories behind the stories. So we're really excited about it. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I think we're right in the perfect timing where people will tune in to something like that. So it'll be coming this fall. So
wow,
very
exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And Mandy Haynes is going to be our producer. And we have a lot of things in the works. So we'll be debuting that probably sometime, have a trailer this summer. And then we've got our anthology coming up. So if any of the Pulpwood Queen authors and want to submit an excerpt from their book they're working on, it's going to be called Works in Progress. And whether you're self-publishing or publishing with a big house, you have to get publishers' permission. But it's going to be a tease so people will want to read more of your books. And we're going to try to have this done before December.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, we did it last year with the Pulpwood Queen Celebrate 20 Years. We had 69 authors submit stories, essays, and poems, and we got that book out in December of last year.
That's amazing.
It's a good thing because COVID hit after, we were going to do all these tours. I went to one event in Houston at Murder by the Book with 6 of my authors that were Texas authors. It was fabulous. And then COVID hit and it was over. And so, it's a wonderful book. Claire has an amazing story in there. Stephanie has an amazing story. And we'll probably do another one of those at our 25th anniversary. So I'm thinking ahead. I've got big dreams, you guys.
Yeah.
So, and we're still, we're hoping that, I sold my first book, optioned it to DreamWorks, which was buckled me to my knees. And that was all going well until DreamWorks sold to Universal Canada. So they said, well, the screenplay's done. We're going to let you, the screenwriter, pitch it to other studios. And they said, well, you know what, let's just start over and let's work on, the producer I was working with out there said, let's do a Netflix series, and really base it upon your book club meetings. And then COVID hit. So we're back to square one. I've watched Jamie Ford, Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, have this happen 3 times. The first time it was in post-production where they were working on distribution and the director died. Well, when the director dies, no other director wants to come in and take over somebody else's body of work. But George Takei from Star Trek, he's working on it now. So you may remember him on that series. So he's of Asian descent, and Jamie Ford is too. But Jamie was my co-host for years, and I just hope to God it gets done because that is one of the most beautiful stories ever written. But I've always felt like things happen when they're supposed to happen. So right now, things are happening, man. We are growing. I had no idea when I started this book club with 6 complete strangers. I told every one of my clients, every one of my friends, all my family, I was starting a book club, and 6 complete strangers show up. And they thought it was a joke. They thought, what would a Southern hairdresser know about books? But they don't know that my whole life has been spent with my nose in a book. So here we are today with 800 plus chapters, new authors coming on board, so gather up all your fan club and get them on board because we're going places, and we're not your mama's book club. We want to make reading fun. It's not homework. It's about sharing our stories, whether it's the stories that you write or the stories of your background, like Michelle Cox has told us about her family. And I think that's what enriches our life, is that we become a community through sharing stories. And I think COVID has helped us do that. I mean, I become a Zoom fan, and a lot of people are burned out on Zoom. You guys, when I'm not doing this, I'm on other people's Zooms, because Conroy Zoom. I have a new queen out there, and I joined them the other night, and then I joined Leslie Lear and Denise Kiernan for a podcast. I just jump on board anywhere I can find something that interests me, and it's really helped me get through this horrible time of social distancing, because I live in the woods. And for those of you that don't know, we had an ice storm, unprecedented ice storm hit. You know, Scott, I was hit hard where I live in East Texas. I had to have my roofs replaced. My plumbing all burst in my house. I had to have it completely replaced. I'm still working on getting the outside, trying to get a contractor to come and fix my siding. But I went 3.5 weeks without water, and I couldn't get up. I was melting snow.
Yeah, we were without water for a week.
Yep, and I was put buckets underneath my drain pipes to flush my toilets. And then the motherboard went out on my heating and air conditioning, and they couldn't get the part. So I then spent a couple more weeks without heat and air conditioning. And we were going from low 50s, 40s up to 70 something. And it was just like I was either burning up or freezing cold. So I'm a real pioneer woman, you guys. I have survived, and I am moving ahead. And I just want to thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Claire, Stephanie, and Michelle. Thank you. Now, tomorrow morning, you're going to have a blog, and I'm going to be ready tomorrow morning. I got on a Zoom meeting and got detained. And then we've been having so much problem with our group blogs on Facebook. Things won't post. It's
strange.
Yeah, it's been really strange. So I don't know what's going on, but I hope they get it fixed. But tomorrow morning, you'll have a new blog and a teaser for us on what you're going to talk about.
I'm going to talk about all the characters of the series. Talk about characters.
Good,
yeah.
Good.
Oh, actually, no, that's Thursdays. Tomorrow's is a writing process. Sorry.
Writing process. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So do note that we're going to have all this up on our calendar of events on our website, which is thepulpwoodqueens.com. But Mandy Haynes, Ruthie Landis, Bobby Kornblit, and Anju Gatani are all going to be leading writers' workshops on our writers thing. All different genres it's going to be fabulous. So I hope everybody will join those too, because whether you're a seasoned professional or a newbie, or you know of a writer who doesn't know even where to start, you always learn something when authors mentor to authors. So, and then Saturday night, Robert and I'll be back with our Saturday night film club at 6:30 Central Standard Time. And Robert and I are going to do a pre-show on one of my favorite and his movies, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to have to tune in to see what I'm going to wear.
Wonderful.
Freaking awesome. So y'all, 6:30, email me and I'll send you the Zoom. Robert just hangs on for the ride, don't you, Robert? He's fabulous. I love him dearly. And we have never met in person.
We've not.
Wow.
Just on Zoom.
But we have coffee time, and we just have fun. But thank you for joining. Grace, Scott, Claire, Stephanie, Michelle, you guys are the best.
Thank you for having me.
It'll all be up on my Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel that you can share. You can put it anywhere you want, and show everybody that you were on there. And any last words anybody wants to share about anything in particular?
No, but I want to do a print screen of everybody. So everyone smile. Okay, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. on
Okay.
Okay.
Bubbles and Bucks.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Have a great night.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Be safe.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.